Welcome, everybody, to Casting for Two, the podcast, as always, hosted by me, yours truly. My name is Chris, by the way. Welcome, everybody, to episode number 343 of the podcast. Thank you, everybody. Great episode today. Of course, however you're listening, this podcast is available on all major services like Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Radio Public, and of course the website castingfor2.com. And if you're enjoying the podcast and you want to leave me a review, go right ahead. I'm not going to say no. I might even read it on in this little chunk right here if I have time. I'll read it if I have time to kill. That's how you'll know if I have time to kill. But yeah. And of course, if you want to keep up with me, my Instagram and Twitter is at castingfor2. Pretty easygoing August so far. I've been a huge fan of easygoing August. But you know what? I have to chat about my guest. My guest is an amazing actor, voiceover work, physical actor, just a lovely, beautiful person. Elysia Rotaru is here. You might know her from, she did work on Arrow, the CW Arrow, a couple seasons ago. But man, was so much fun to chat with, and I know I could nerd out an entire podcast about Arrow because everyone knows I love DC, but we kept it very light, so and that was intentional on my part. But Elysia is just such a wonderful person, and you know what? We got to get in this episode, all right? Because we have to. You got to listen to it. So everybody, sit back, relax, and Chris, cue the music, please. How's your day going so far?
It's crazy as usual in a good way, but you know.
What is usual day for you?
Just like getting slammed with awesome auditions for voiceover, prepping for class, trying to squeeze a workout in, and maybe hopefully a meal.
Okay, I mean
meal
if you can. You don't need food sometimes.
Sometimes.
So, this is a loose podcast, but I do ask the hard-hitting questions, and I don't want you to feel intimidated.
Okay, yeah, do it. I love it.
Okay, so
intimidate me.
Okay, first off, the first question is going to tell me everything I need to know about you. So, again, no pressure, but lots of pressure. Okay. How much sleep do you need to function throughout the day?
That really depends. I mean, if I'm really going to be a slug and know that I have nothing really on the board for the next day, like I just sometimes won't set my alarm clock and veg out the night before on my couch watching Netflix or catching up on some shows on HBO or whatever. But I can't sleep more than 8 hours.
Okay.
I know that. If I sleep more than 8, I'm a little bit screwed. Yeah. But I think I can function pretty well at like 5 hours if needed. Like if desperately needed, like if there's a quick turnaround from the night before to the next day and I have to get her done, it'll happen.
Okay. I think 5, the 5 to 8, I feel like that's reasonable.
I mean, yeah, I've also done like 2 days in a row straight with no sleep before too, and I thought I was okay. I think I was okay. I can't remember.
Do you ever have when you're working on set, especially if you do night shoots, I mean, you must get a little loopy at times.
I mean, yeah, I can't recall exactly where I was coming from, but I was
Okay.
doing a night shoot on a project. Then I had to round, yes, this was actually, I think it was last summer. I'm not, yeah, we were shooting a movie. Yes, I think it was on Kilbird. We were shooting a movie, got home super late, had to be up, but like, there was no point in sleeping because it was already that time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you're already
Yeah.
past that sleep point. And then I think I had to go to a voiceover session or something. And then another voiceover session. And
Oh,
I was
jeez.
just like, then I had to come home and like do some work. And then, I don't know, like maybe sleep. So I can't, yeah, it was just aggressive. It was like,
After a certain point, do you feel that, since you went, so long without sleep, do you feel like your filter is gone and you're just like, meh? Or do you try to
I
hold it
don't
together?
know. I mean, I have to kind of try to hold it together. And usually I'm around my husband or
Mm.
friends or work people, so like you can't
Yeah.
really be too much of a little like stinky poo. But I think what just happens to me is like my body just, you almost feel like you're high, but
Yeah.
in the wrong, most annoying way. You know what
Right.
I mean? Not that I can recall what that really feels like, but you're just kind of like, all right, like you feel like you're having for me anyway, I felt like I was having outer body experiences. You know what I mean? I'm like, okay, I know my body is functioning, but my brain is not. Or then it would flip, like my brain is not functioning, but my body is there. So I always try to like hit the gym.
Mm.
I know that sounds crazy, but I'll
Hmm.
always try and like get a workout in if that ever happens where I'm just like having to do a circuit of like no sleep.
Hmm.
Um, and it works for me. Like it gives me a little bit of like a booster kick of like presence.
Yeah.
But I try to avoid those as much as I can.
What is your least favorite thing to do at the gym?
I want to say cardio.
Okay. Yeah.
Like it has to be fun cardio.
Okay. I was gonna say fardio. What's fun cardio for you?
Probably like, I used to play beach volleyball on
Mm.
a like competitive, like fun weekend team. And that was so much fun because
Hmm.
like there's something involved. You know what I mean? It's not like I'm just sprinting and stopping and sprinting and stopping. But even
Right.
that I find fun. I think it's just more, I just have a really hard time. I've always had a hard time with cardio. Don't get me wrong. Like even in high school and track, like it wasn't my thing. But I like it.
Hmm.
I'm not, and soccer. Like I like soccer, but I'm not like into soccer.
Right.
So I don't know. I feel like there has to be like a thing. Like, beach volleyball was awesome. It was like the ultimate hit training. You know what I mean? You're like hitting a ball, diving on the ground, getting up, going again, take a minute, and you're just circling through and it's like you're going to win. Like you're fighting to win. But
Right.
at the gym, I don't know. It's kind of like it's like you against yourself and like you're fighting against you next time. You know what I mean? I like rowing. Actually, now that
Rowing.
you brought that
Okay.
up, I like the
Okay.
row machine.
All right.
Maybe because I'm not like fully actually running.
It's always that funny thing of us versus ourself. I'm like, myself will win. Whatever, I'll do nothing. That's
Right.
fine.
Yeah.
But
Like,
yeah, if you're in like an element where, oh, if I don't do my job, then everyone else around me is screwed.
yeah,
Then it's kind of like, okay, I better,
legit.
yeah.
Ooh, you just reminded me. You know what I hate? Burpees. I don't hate them,
Oh,
but
okay.
like balls, annoying burpees. Blech. And those ropes, like when you have to do the ropes
Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
in
yeah.
circuits with your arms. You know what I mean? I don't
Yeah.
know what they're called.
I don't.
Heavy
I
ropes.
mean, The Rock makes him look real cool, though. But I guess it's because it's The Rock.
I know.
Yeah.
I mean, his arm weighs the size of a human.
Right. I feel like his arms are actual people.
Right.
Why? But
Sorry, Rock.
yeah, no, it's fine. He gets it. He's flattered. But I'm curious. What made you get into acting?
um, Man, I don't know. Like I don't even, it's hard for me to even think about that question. So I guess I have to backtrack. Like I've spoken about it before.
Hmm.
Just my life, I guess. Like I was always in performance since I was a kid. performance pianist. I was a competitive pianist. I did dance. I was in theater in elementary, high school, and studied it in university. So I always enjoyed it. Like my parents would always, when they reminisce about you being a kid to like your partner, they're like, when
Right.
she was a kid, like apparently I would always watch movies on repeat over and over and over and memorize their
Oh.
lines over and over like a little psycho. But I don't really remember doing that. But I think because it's funny because I don't do that now. My husband's like, how have you only seen this movie once? And I'm like, I don't know. Because there's so much to see.
Right, right. Yeah,
But
the amount of content that there is today has gone up significantly. So I don't blame you.
right. And so, yeah, like I think I just really love it. And as I started studying it, and I'll be honest, like even now, 11 years in, I'm still like, what's acting? Like, what am I doing? Like, I guess I'm telling a story. And like those, let's just call them basic ideas that you get taught or learn, kind of like maybe later resonate with certain people or hit them really early on. And they become these like protege, amazing, like ingenue starlets. But I'm still understanding it, because like there's so much out there and it's like, okay, there's stories. And then sometimes I guess everything is a story, but sometimes you're like, is this a story like that I want to tell, like that I want to be a part
Right.
of? So I think it's just that curiosity is like, okay, what can I do? What can I turn myself into? What's exciting? What story is out there that intrigues me, that I fit, or that I can like mold myself to fit into?
No, I think curiosity is like number one thing you need to have when you're an actor. I don't want to speak for other actors because I can't, but there's always that feeling of, oh, this guy is just in autopilot versus and it comes to normal day to day life. We can always keep on learning. There's never a point where you know everything.
True. Yeah, and I'm heading to a class tonight to keep on learning and training and like stay sharp. So it's a never-ending circuit of learning and then practicing.
Exactly. And how long have you been doing class?
I'm always in class if I can. Like I like to just find a little bunker of people and shoot the shit, work it out, get bossed around a little bit. It's nice to
Hmm.
get other perspectives on what you are doing rather than just you and yourself at home or you with the same people. So like I've been training, I guess, since high school, I've been in classes like for acting and then other stuff. Like I always like to have that in my system. Like if I'm in between shoots, I like to do something,
Yeah.
be it, booking other work, maybe in another medium of the craft, like with voiceover or video game, like I consider work even class, you know what I mean? Like you're getting worked, like
Yeah.
even when you're working. So yeah.
And you mentioned earlier that you have a musical and a dance background. Do you feel that that has helped you in your acting?
Um, the dance background can kind of die. I feel like I dropped out when I was like a child. And then, we studied it a little bit in theater school and university for
Yeah.
like that kind of moment. Um, but then like piano, I think really did because it was such a disciplined thing that I had in my
Hmm.
life for so long.
Yeah.
And like, I had so much resistance to it. But I also loved it and hated it and like enjoyed it and wanted to stop. Like it was just crazy. So I think growing up doing something of that nature, and it was classical piano too. Like it
Mm.
wasn't like I was like hitting a fucking jazz bar, playing the blues and jamming.
Right. No, this was proper piano.
Yeah. And so it was very regimented, very structured, like
Yeah.
do your scales, do technique. And then I think that really did help develop my discipline for what I do now. Like you get a piece of material, you work it, you study it, you practice it, you lay it down, and then you let it fly. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? And then you take notes and then you do it again and you perform it. And it's like part of, and then you get this little bit, I think, of like not leprechaun. Oh my God, what am I saying? You get a flub, you get like a little repertoire kind of
Yeah.
locked into your body of like tools that you can use, from every piece that you performed or person you've studied with, et cetera, et cetera. So I think for sure, like all that time and money and energy my parents invested in me is paying off, just not on a stage playing piano.
Yeah, yeah.
Sorry, Mom. Sorry, Dad. Yeah.
I mean, at least the skills went to something else. So
I think so.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's not a total bummer. But
No.
and then when do you still play piano, or did you cold
You know
cold
what's
stop?
so depressingly sad and like
What's up?
I could get emo about it is when I was 19, I had like I guess you could say like a breakdown
Mm-hmm.
where I just not a breakdown like Lindsay Lohan breakdown, but like a breakdown where I was
Like
like,
a life
I'm done.
breakdown. Yeah.
Not even. So I take that back. It wasn't even to that extent.
Oh,
It
okay.
was more like, I'm just trying to be dramatic, because I'm an actor. No, it was more like I was in university. It was, coming into my second year, whatnot. Stuff's getting crazy. I'm also working and going to school and have piano.
Mm,
And I found myself like, getting really frustrated with the work of being a pianist at the competitive level and not enjoying it at all.
right.
And then having these kind of moments where I longed for more within the realm of being a pianist. Like I wished that I could jam with somebody, or I wish that I could just tinkle on the ivories and like sing a song at a dinner party that was like, a Bryan Adams single. But I couldn't do it because I was never trained that way. And
Mm,
despite the classical training that should have helped transcend into the other formats, for some reason it didn't live in my body that way. So I got to this point where I'm like, you know what? I'm done. Like, I don't want to finish the program. I don't want to do the like final level of the whatever pianist training you have to do before you become a teacher.
right.
I hated doing the math, like the harmony classes. So I just quit. Like I just remembered quitting. Like I was like, I'm done, and never went to classes anymore.
Mm,
And my parents were pissed. Like my mom was like heartbroken, and I'm like, I'm sorry. Like I'm not going to be a competitive pianist playing with a symphony.
right.
Like that's not my goal. It never was. I don't think it was hers either, but she was more like, finish the program. But I'm like, I just don't want to. Like it's not, I just quit. And I don't think I've ever quit something like that to that degree where I've like remembered it so aggressively, because it,
Yeah.
it does suck. Like I do wish I could still play like I used to. And I'm sure if I hit a piano again and went back to class, it would come back like clockwork and,
Hmm.
like riding a bike kind of shit. But at the end of the day, I don't know. I mean, maybe I'll pick it up later. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, that's the nice thing about music. I know you said that you went through the classical side, but I mean it's always there. It's just sleeping right now.
Yeah, yeah,
It's yeah. The potential is sleeping in your fingers.
yeah, which is kind of cool. And don't get me wrong, like it's having that has helped me a lot, especially with what I do in the booth as a voice actor as well. Like getting that musicality, my ear is quite tuned in.
Mm,
Um, so I can hear things, right? And I can then use my other tool, like my body and voice, to get other stuff done. But it definitely did help. It set me up for success in different ways, I think.
I used to play music back in high school, but I wasn't, fancy about it. I just joined the jazz band, and looking
Ooh.
looking back, because I played drums, and I hated jazz. Like I was just, oh, never. And then of course, now that I'm older, I appreciate it. But I do feel like jazz is the universal wavelength to get you into all different types of styles, and even getting to jam with people. Because
Yeah.
even I was jamming with some people a couple years ago who I'd never met. I had no idea what their skill level was, or anything like that. And I was just, well, let's do this. And then it was like riding a bike.
And that's fun. And I never had that. Like it was very solitary.
Hmm.
So
I think you can do it though. I really do.
yeah, one day when I have some more time and
There
like
we go.
have a space to put a little baby grand back in somewhere, but yeah, we'll see.
And so when it comes to acting, Well, let's backtrack just a little bit.
Yeah, yeah.
When did you get into VO work?
I want to say maybe 8 years ago. It's hard for me to all the years of like blended in together, but I want to say like around 8 years ago
Oh, okay.
was when I got discovered by the most amazing guy, Alistair Abel. He's a phenomenal gentleman up in Vancouver.
Mm.
Um, and I mean, if it wasn't for that guy kind of bringing me into the booth for some auditions and booking some stuff, I don't think I would have the career I have right now, to be honest. And then, of course, helping him secure a great agent with me by, referrals. Like in Vancouver, I'm signed with an amazing guy there, Ralph Strike. And then from that, it led on to signing with an amazing agency in LA, SBV. And it's just like this amazing trail of people.
Yeah.
So it all started with that one guy. Kind of like, that story of like you go to a party, you meet someone, you're at the right place at the right time. But you also got to follow through.
Right.
So, I mean,
Right.
yeah, 8 years and it's still going strong.
Now, what's more demanding, VO work or set work for you anyway?
That's a tough one. I mean, they both are. They require so many different aspects of like my energy power in different ways.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll say this, like when you're on set for 15 hours
Yeah.
or even less, that I think demands your focus in a very different way. Like you need to, make sure you're completely still in the moment for your next setup for your scene.
Right.
Be off book, drop into your character. I think that focus is also required indefinitely when you're doing an animation, right? But you're in there for 4 hours.
Mm-hmm.
But it's 4 concentrated hours of like focus, like where things and directions are happening at you very quickly, and it needs to execute within that time frame. So I think those have an interesting parallel. And then when I'm doing motion capture work or video games, I feel like that is almost comparative to being on set as well. You're there for an 8, maybe 10-hour day. You're just bound to a different medium, right? So your imagination is like more all play in a way because you don't really have a set. You don't really have costumes. You don't have all those things that you do on a set. So it's not like set is easy because you have all those things.
Right.
It's more, tangible because you get to actually touch your props maybe sometimes or really be in the forest when you're in the forest.
Right.
So it's just you're using different elements of your brain and your creative space, and then of course when you're doing VO for adverts or commercials, like I just did one today for McDonald's, you still have to use your imagination full on and take a note and take direction and play with your teammates or if you're there by yourself. So it all requires this heightened level of focus, but fun. And it's just about how you, I think, maybe time it out.
Gotcha.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
Because 15 hours on set, jumping from different sets, different parts of the story, perhaps if you're doing block shooting or whatever, even not, as opposed to just maybe a 1-hour session in the booth. Like it's just, I guess, how you play with your energy and where you use it and when. So it's a tough question to answer just linearly, if that makes sense. So I hope I don't sound like a psycho talking about it all over the map, but like, and then this, but it's a big tangent answer because it is so displaced in all the different mediums.
Right.
Like where your focus and energy and attention need to go.
Well, and I was just thinking about this right now. On set life, there's a lot of starts and stops.
Yeah.
Is that when you're, when it's an intense scene, or you're playing an intense character, is it kind of, is it hard for you to stay in that headspace?
I mean, this film I shot last year was called Killbird. Is called Killbird, pardon me. And we shot that out, and that was pretty much like a two-hander film of like full-on intenseness from almost beginning to end. And I just remember it wasn't hard to come in and out of that character because I feel like, you know, if I was going to pull one of those, you know, Daniel Day-Lewis moments where I'm walking around like Abe Lincoln on a set, it might not really be conducive to who I am, Elysia. Like I needed to have a moment of like a brain break with
Right.
certain scenes. But the cast and the crew were very respectful of the boundaries that we were playing within emotionally. Because there were moments, hopefully you guys get to see the film soon, where I needed to stay in that realm because I was maybe physically tied up. So like I asked, you know, I'm like, I want to stay here while you're setting up. Like, I think it's just going to help propel the next shot and we can get it done in a 2-shot. You know, like we don't need to do 15 freaking takes. Like if I'm in,
Right.
I'm in. Let me play this way. And of course, like if it was safe. So it just really depends. And I think it's very personal. And of course, set dependent. You know, like if you have to move locations or do something else or do a wardrobe change, I think that kind of takes you out.
Right. Right.
You know, it's not really, yeah, it's hard to say.
I've always liked the idea of, and I don't want to make it sound like I'm making fun of method actors, but you know, at a certain point, you look to your left and you see a camera crew, you see a producer eating a donut, you see a
Right.
sound guy. It's like how like I respect that you're trying to stay in character all day, but I mean, come on.
Oh, that's yeah. I I would love to try it one day. I just
Mhm.
don't know if that's my process.
Right. Right.
I mean, I've been able to do it for a few hours, but it also, I mean, if you're not giving people fair warning, I don't know how that would, I don't know. Do you give people fair warning? I'm not sure. Like, do you just show up and you're
Uh,
a pro? Like, I don't know.
right.
It's like such a sensitive thing for me to like think about and try and execute because also work with friends sometimes
Mm,
and it's nice to also just be with your friends on set for a minute and then also work with them too
right.
on camera. So I don't know. I think that would be a really fun thing to do, like maybe on a short film perhaps if it was like a 1-day shoot.
Right.
But I just it's never really been part of my process to go like full on method, like stay in.
Did you ever see that Jim Carrey documentary?
About when he did Andy.
Yes, Andy Kaufman.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's. I mean, I give him
It's
kudos, but my
yeah.
gosh, it. I can just imagine being just a normal person, just on set, just like, oh my gosh, here we go again.
Yeah, and like it's I mean, I would love to experience being around somebody in that way.
Yeah.
Especially imagine they're doing like you're Abe Lincoln. Imagine doing that movie and it's like he's talking to you in his like period style text.
Right.
And then you're like, all right, thanks. And you're like, thanks, man. What's up? And he's like, my pleasure, young boy. Like,
Oh.
I don't know. That might be really interesting. But
um. You know, yeah, I believe in you, and you will have your chance to go method for at
thank
least one
you.
project, of course.
Thank you. Yeah.
Uh, and if there's one thing that I love on the podcast, it's a good horror story. And
Oh.
I'm wondering if you have any audition horror stories.
Oh, in what degree?
You know, I leave that for the guest. You know.
I haven't, you know, to sound not like I'm copping out, I
Mm-hmm.
haven't really had anything so aggressively horrific
Mm-hmm.
happen to me in an audition room. I have had moments where things have gone sideways with the way I executed a scene by maybe breaking a chair.
Oh.
You know, just things like that where I just misjudged the space of or the length of my leg and like, you know, just weird shit like that. But I don't think I've ever had anything where I have fallen like on my face and have just been like mortified.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, I've taken some pretty bold moves in audition rooms that maybe turned people off.
Mm-hmm.
But they were choices that I made, that I committed to, and so be it, and it's not like I wasn't called back into those rooms again, but it was like perhaps maybe a response to me not being someone with like enough credits on my resume to support something like that. I don't know. And this was like earlier on in my career. But I like to go balls to the wall sometimes in the room and see what happens, but I've learned to fine tune it, like you walk into a room, you kind of navigate the room and you talk to casting. You're like, yo, this is my idea. Are you cool with that? Like, and then let's play. So, things like that I've learned to put in my system now. Like, that's a learning curve. But I really can't think of anything horrific.
I mean, I'm curious. How did you break a chair? Did you pick it up and smash it?
No, I kicked it. I was supposed to be like kicking like a person or something.
Gotcha.
Maybe a door down. And I used it, to get that out. And also for the sound, to get wake the room up a minute. And it just, I think it went flying and broke. And I feel like I almost broke her wall. And I'm like, oh, shit. I'm like, so there goes a bottle of wine to that office. Thank you very much. But it was, I think I've been, if anything, I almost try and keep it without, once again, selling myself out. But I think I try and keep it more on the safe side in a room to a certain degree. Because it's a sensitive place. Like, it's like you're walking into somebody's home in a way. And then creating your own inside it. So you still have to be, I think, sensitive to it. So now my brain is racked. Like, way to go, Chris. Now I'm just like, fuck, is there anything?
Look, what did I tell you when we started this chat? I only asked the hard-hitting questions.
I know.
That's all but I mean, breaking a chair is pretty rad, though.
Yeah. I mean, I could have broken better.
All right.
Kidding.
Next audition, I'll break it something else.
Yeah.
Oh, man. But for people at home who would like to keep up with you online, check out any upcoming projects you have, where can they do all that?
Hey, yeah. I mean, you can always creep me and find me on Instagram at Elysia Rotaru. And that's my handle on Twitter, Snapchat, and YouTube as well. I started a new little YouTube channel, so you can see some stuff I'm making there too. But, yeah, and if not, there's always good old trusty IMDb.
There we go.
If you don't have any of those platforms, or just good old Google.
There we go. Just Google me.
Google me, yeah.
Elysia, thank you so much for chatting with me. Huge pleasure. I didn't want to nerd out too much about Arrow, but I love Arrow.
Dude, nerd out.
Thank you. You were working on the season with Constantine too.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
We unfortunately didn't get to meet or work together. I would only see him we would see each other in passing in the circus, like, going in between trailers and such.
Right.
I didn't get a chance to work with a lot of people besides Steven, Jimmy, Ryan Robbins, just that crew that you saw there on Leon Yu. So it was awesome. It was once again very like island life.
Right. Exactly.
So yeah, it was a very rad experience.
Oh, that's
really grateful for it, and I'm sad that they're shutting down. But you gotta do what you gotta do.
Yeah, exactly. But again, anytime you want to come back and, chat about breaking stuff, like, I'd be more than happy to do that with you.
Hopefully I'll maybe have a more exciting story and it won't be me crashing my car.
Okay. Yes. Yeah. Preferably not.
Yeah. Preferably never. Yeah.
But awesome. I'll let you go and have a good day. All right.
Hey, thank you so much, Chris. Pleasure.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.